In today's Wake Up Money, the financial decisions college students make now will have a huge impact on the rest of their lives, whether it's good or whether it's bad. But unfortunately, students generally make mistakes that leave them deep in debt. Here to talk more about this is certified public accountant Bob Martin. Good morning. Thanks for being here. A couple of years ago, there was a report that a lot of the students who were dropping out of college dropped out not because of grades, but because of financial problems. Is that still the case? Oh, it's very much the case. Because of the rising costs of college, students are not able to afford to pay for their classes. In fact, in 1981, a student could pay for 2/3 of their tuition by just working a summer job for 3 months at minimum wage. I mean, that wouldn't even come close today. Now, we have some mistakes, common mistakes that college students make, and if we could put them up on the screen right now, there are basically 5 of them. No budget, missing deadlines, overlooking work, study, and part-time job opportunities. They don't know how to say no, and they fail to learn about personal finance. Let's start with the first one. They don't budget. Yeah, it's a painful process to budget. Let's face it, nobody wants to see that they don't have enough money. But on top of that, they have unrealistic expectations. You know, they're just starting out in the real world, and they don't realize how much things cost, and usually the cost goes up faster than they expect. Reality hits them hard. Now, what about missing deadlines and financial aid opportunities? A lot of times they wait till a child is in the senior year of high school. I recommend when the children are freshmen or sophomores in high school to start looking at what the opportunities are for financial aid. Sometimes you need to get old tax returns. Sometimes you can delay a bonus that the parents have just so you qualify for more financial aid. Now, number 3 was overlooking work, study, and part-time job opportunities. You touched on that with that summer job at minimum wage. Right. Tell me more about it. Well, the government has opportunities also. For example, the military, when you get out of the military, there are programs that will help you pay for tuition. There's the Peace Corps. People a lot of times didn't consider these in the past, but now they need to because they're not going to be able to make it on their own. Now, the 5th point we had was they don't say no. Yes. What they do, in fact, they do just the opposite. They go and get credit cards. There's this myth that you have to establish credit and get a bunch of credit cards when you're in college. Well, guess what? You don't have any money coming in. And so you're really not establishing credit. You're doing damage, which leads us to the results of all this. Okay, and number 5, which covers some of what you've been talking about, a failure to learn about personal finance. Right. They don't realize that what they're doing with these credit cards, with spending too much money without planning, not looking at the right rates of interest on loans, they end up in deep trouble for the rest of their lives sometimes. So that is basically the big blunder that students make. Exactly. In fact, what happens is they end up with low FICO scores based on what they do in college, and that then affects what it costs to buy a home later in life, what it costs to buy a car, and sometimes it could take 10 or 20 years to get out of this mess. Bob Martin, thank you very much for joining.